Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. We have about 6 albums to go through, as pretty much always, so let's go through them as quick as we can. We begin almost fittingly with the debut, Alt Black Arrow, with their first album, Rave Immortal. Now, I will fully admit, when I first heard this name, I thought they were a Japanese band. Seriously, look at the way the name's spelled, and tell me, without looking at the cover, tell me that you don't think they're a Japanese band, because I really didn't think they were. Well, sorry, I did think they were. Well, I wasn't expecting it to actually be a pair of sisters from the UK. I'm giving this one a B minus though. I thought it was fine. So the main things I did like about it, I liked the performances of the sisters. For the most part, I even quite liked the production. You know, it's got some really good spots to it, and I sort of like the techno, electro, rock leaning rave style even that they incorporate. But there's a fair few issues with this one. First of all is the lyrics. They sort of have the main theme of like rebellion, but it's not really super easy to decipher, which is weird because the girls sing cleanly. There's no like harsh vocals to make it more difficult to understand. But it's also just repetitive as fuck, which is the same thing I could say about the structuring. It feels like it just goes nowhere for the most part, and excuse my hand, it retraces a lot of its steps. I don't know. But then again, this is their first album, and they're both still very young. I think the oldest of the two is 20, the other one is 17, going on 18 this year, maybe? I don't know, but like, it feels like this should have still been an EP. They only released one EP before this, and it feels like this is an EP that was sort of retooled to justify itself as an album, but it wasn't really enough to justify it. But I'm not blaming that on the girls. I'm not blaming it on the producer. I think they produced it themselves, but I could be wrong about that. As always, correction will go here. And there's some pretty exciting stuff here. I just wish that actually felt like it would progress more. You know, it doesn't really feel like it moves forward a lot. Next is The Breathing Method with their first album After Everything Else. It's weird that that's the title of their debut, but this is the first of 3 bands today from Scotland. And I'm giving this one a B minus as well. So again, I'll get the bad things out of the way first. Mainly with the production, it really feels like whoever produced it forgot to turn things up, because I can't bloody hear anything. It's more so on the vocals, because I can hear most of the instrumentation just fine. I feel like the bass suffers a little bit on the low. This is an alt-rock leaning, sort of grungy act from Scotland, and that's a good place to get this sort of style. But I just kind of wish that the riff would have gone a bit further with that. The guitar and drums are good, but like the bass feels a bit like understated, a bit too understated for my liking. But again, the production sort of buries the vocals quite a bit. I'm not really a huge fan of the mix here. The lyrics are alright, I think. There's stuff about mental health. I couldn't find anything, and there's not really a whole lot to read about it either. The band are a really good unit, though. I think they actually stand quite well together. They work well together, and pacing is fine. Bit of drag. I feel like this album, it's a good length, like around 45 minutes, but it does feel like it takes a while to really get to its juicier, chewier, munchier moments, which do come in the latter half of the album. It's got a really good closer as well, but yeah, you know, mostly fine work for a debut, and not really holding anything against them, as there is more than enough chemistry to go around. I just think that they need to tighten things up and mix things up a little bit for next time, maybe. Next we go to Austria for the first time, I think, in at least a year, for a band named Harakiri for the Sky and their new album Scorched Earth. So this is my first album by them. I think I might have heard the name before, and I'm giving this one the highest grade I can really give anything, which is an A+. Holy shit, I was not expecting this one to actually be a potential frontrunner for my top 30. I will say my least favorite thing about it is the fact that it ends with a Radiohead cover, the song being Street Spirit Fade Out. Not really a big fan of that, but oh my god, this thing's incredible. Their instrumentation is top notch, really good post black metal vibes. Love the guitar work, especially love the drum work. And there's only 2 members, like there's one vocalist and one who does the instrumentation, and it feels like there's a lot more work. I guess it helps that the instrumentalist plays guitar, bass, and drums, which is good, you know, and I quite like the lyrics. I was not expecting a black metal album to be about things like relationships and depression and things like that. And it's got some good dark writing to it. It doesn't feel overly bleak either. There is sort of an undercurrent of hope to it. I wish that were more present, but I still fucking love the lyricism. The band members both work well. I do have the names written here. Matthias Solak, who I believe is the instrumentalist, and vocalist Michael JJV Wanstrom, which isn't even his real name. I can't remember what it actually is, but that's just what he's more known for. My Hair Today, Bloody Nora. Really good work from him as well. He delivers so emotively, and he's got a really good scream to him. Pacing's great, not really a moment wasted. Even with the last song being a cover, it doesn't feel like it doesn't fit, really, which is amazing considering that this is the longest album recorded of the year so far. It's over an hour and 7 minutes. An hour, 7 minutes and 29 seconds if you want to be pedantic about it. But, yeah, really great there, really great production, super organic, and a really nice raw feel, which fucking helps a lot with the overall sound. I can't really think of a thing I don't like about this album. I mean, yeah, it ends with the cover could be the worst thing I say about it, but this album is a huge recommend from me, and a potential top 30 frontrunner, but we're still in January for a little bit longer, so we'll see how the rest of the year pans out, but this album looks good, so far. Next we have a rarity, someone from the interwebs. We have Jazz Emu with his 6th album, or at least I believe it's his 6th album, titled Ego Death. I'm giving this one a B+. I really enjoyed this. Jazz Emu is a sort of comedy musician who, despite being from the UK, puts on this fake European accent, and it really helps things because he's so goddamn funny. I really love the comedic writing on this album, and good lord, there's some great stuff. It doesn't really stick to a concept, but there's things like, you know, sort of more abstract themes. There is some more typical stuff, like, you know, sort of like how, like, lovemaking and things like that. But there's also so many great subversive jokes, and I just have to appreciate Jazz Emu, real name Archie Henderson. His, like, personality and charisma really shines through on this album. His performance is really fucking good. Really nice production as well. Very organic, fleshed out. Really like that. Really like the tone, the pacing as well. Very straightforward, and does try and stick to a concept, and that is my main issue with the album, but it's not the album's fault, because I knew full well, when I added this to my list of albums to listen to, like, near the start of the year / near the end of last year, I knew that this was going to be a visual concept album. I only listened to it, though I didn't watch the album, and I feel bad for doing that, because I feel like I should have done that, because there's something about, like, a rat thing. I don't know. I wish I had done that to get a more clear picture of the concepts, but for what I heard, really enjoyed it. Hilarious lyrics, great performance, really good sort of jazzy, soulful, funky pop vibes. Love the mix of the sounds, really. Solid enough pacing, yeah, just really good stuff all around, and a whole lot of fun, and really bloody funny. Next we have one I should have looked a bit more into, and it's another band from Scotland. This is a band called Mogwai, and I think it's their 11th album, titled The Bad Fire. And I'm giving this one a B. I really enjoyed it. However, so when I was looking into this band, it does say that they have vocalists. You know, the S there is in brackets. But there's not a lot of actual vocals on this one, so it makes it hard for me to discern lyrics. Which is weird, because there is some at a couple of songs, but it's mostly not there, and the album's under 55 minutes. That's a lot of bloody instrumental work. They're a solid enough, like, post-rock acts, you know? This is my first album by them. They've been around for 3 decades, and they named themselves after an adorable creature. Well, okay, they named themselves after the race of the adorable creature. If they named themselves Gizmo, I would have been more into it, I think, but that's just me. Really enjoyed the instrumentation itself, though. The production by John Congleton, great job. I mean, Congleton is just a really good producer anyway. Really nice mix. Very, very organic, very good feeling, very good soundscapes. Maybe the pacing suffers a little bit because it's a bit long with not a lot happening. But, you know, there's really good synth and guitar work, some solid bass and drum grooves too. Like that work, like the band Cohesion, you know, good shit. Yeah, good mix, good riffs, good performances, decent enough pacing, because it does have enough interesting stuff with instruments at least to keep things going. I just wish that there were more words to talk about. But for what it is, I did still like it. And finally, we end in Bleeding Scotland with the Vukovi and their fourth album, I believe, My God Has Got a Gun. And I'm giving this one also a B-. I have the same problems with this as I did with all Black Arrow's album. It retraces a lot of its steps and doesn't really go anywhere. It's a spirograph album, basically. It sticks to one thing. Excuse me losing my voice there, although that was probably bliss for you for a split second. But it sticks to one thing and doesn't really go anywhere with the pacing a lot. And I feel like it's also overproduced, which is weird because it was handled by the band as well. It was released on Sharptone, which is also odd to me because of all their albums, they've self-released one of them. So I don't know why they didn't self-release this one, you know. But, yeah, Sharptone is a good enough label, and the band producing themselves, I wouldn't mind if it didn't feel so overdone. And this is the weirdest part to me. So this is my first album by this band, and from what I understand, earlier in their career, they were more of a pop-punky metalcore sort of thing. You know, I'm imagining just a basic Scottish female-fronted version of A Day to Remember. That's where my mind goes, even though I never listened to their old music. This album is more of an alt-metal / alt-rock vibe, and it doesn't really go a lot. There's good riffs from Hamish Royley, who is the guitarist of the band, and Justine Shilston? I don't know how to say her bloody name, but again, I'll correct it here. I know her first name's Justine, but you know, she's a good vocalist, got a really dark, like, ethereal quality to her voice, which I quite like. And I did enjoy the lyrical themes, mostly focused on, like, mental health and body health and depression. That's good stuff, and it ties the album's title into the concept quite nicely, but oh man, it really doesn't feel like it moves forward a whole lot. It just retraces itself and doesn't really end on a big note. It doesn't really mix up the pace a bunch, you know, it just settles for like middle-ish, which is fine, but I don't know, I feel like the style change might have hurt the album a little bit. I wouldn't normally mind it, you know, and as I established with last week's episode with Tigris's album, you know, you can do a sort of like style mix-up a little bit if you think you can get away with it, you know? But this one feels like it has a lot of growing pains going for it. It's still really good, and the band did do their best. I think it's their first album in like 5 years as well, so that might have also played a part in it, I'm not really sure. But all in all, I did still quite like it, even though I'm making it sound like I didn't. I did still enjoy what I was supposed to enjoy about it. So next up is, I guess, next week's lineup. So what you can expect, or hope to expect, is All That Remains with Anti-Fragile, Blue Violet with Faux Animo, Grayscale with The Heart, Grief Ritual with Collapse, LS Jones with Violet, and Mac Miller with Balloonerism. That's going to be an interesting one. I think it's his second posthumous album. As for this previous episode, though, favourite album cover, I'll go with that first, probably goes to Scorched Earth by Harakiri for the Sky, and I'm giving favourite song to I Could Get Into It from Ego Death by Jazz Emu, simply because it's technically not my favourite song. That's probably my favourite song from Harakiri for the Sky's album, but it's got a really long name I can't remember. But like, I Could Get Into It is such a hilarious song with some really great jokes. Some of the best comedic writing I've heard probably all year, I would say, if I had heard a lot. But it's still a really funny song. I still recommend you go check it out, and all of the albums I went over, really. That'll be it for me. I'll see you tomorrow for the Go Home Show for Cutting Edge next week, and potentially on Saturday for more streaming of Turnip Boy Dose. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.